Senator Gallacher.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise to make a contribution in this adjournment on some activities in the seat of Boothby. And as senators may well be aware, the Honourable Dr Andrew Southcott has indicated he won't be contesting that seat. So the field is open, so to speak. And I would just like to place on the public record that the Labor Party has a startlingly good candidate in Mr Mark Ward. And Mark Ward has lived in Hawthorndean, a suburb in the electorate of Boothby, for 18 years. He and his family are involved as normal in all the sports and local clubs. 2 daughters attending school in Boothby. He works in Boothby as a senior leader of numeracy and mathematics at the Urbray Agricultural High School. And from 2004 to 2007, he was a project officer with the Department for the Science and Mathematics Strategy, working with schools around the state from reception to Year 12 on a variety of science and mathematics projects. From 2008 to 2011, he worked at the Flinders University, at the Flinders Centre for Science Education in the 21st Century on strategic science and mathematics projects. Mark has also been very active in the community, serving as an elected member of the Mitchell Council for over 8 years and had a stint as Deputy Mayor. So the people of Boothby will get a choice. They'll get a choice at the next election between a good, local, hard-working candidate and a Xenophon candidate yet to be announced. And we're looking forward to the next Xenophon team announcing their candidate. They seem to have some idea that they're heavily credentialed to be successful. But I wanted to just put on the public record that with Dr Southcott not standing in this electorate, a seat that he's held for many years successfully, held off all challenges, the Liberal Party has now pre-selected a Miss Nicole Flint. Now, I don't know how much, Mr Acting Deputy President, you or any other senators would know about the seat of Boothby, but it's a seat where, from time to time, the Labor Party has been accused of standing trophy sort of candidates, and not all those have been all that successful. And I suppose Miss Flint has had that baptism of fire. That baptism of fire which comes from going on 5AA and the ABC 891, and it goes a bit like this. When asked if she was a local, she gave the following response. Look, I'm going to make my home in Boothby. I'll be living and enrolled here. The reason I've put myself up for Boothby is that Boothby has been really good to me. Well, how long have you lived in Boothby? I'm going to make my home in Boothby. I'll be living and enrolled here. As I said, Boothby has been very good to me. Have you ever lived in Boothby? I haven't, but the pre-selectors of the Liberal Party in Boothby have selected me because they believe with my work and study. And the announcer interjects and says, have you ever lived in Boothby? Where do you live? I'm currently staying in the city, so it's just on the edge of Boothby. I'm going to be making my home in Boothby. OK, so you're staying in the city. Where is your home? My home is going to be in Boothby and I'm currently looking. A radio announcer, it's not a trick question, where's your home? My home is currently just in the city, just on the edge of Boothby, and as I said, I'm going to be making my home in Boothby. And the farce continues. Abraham, 891, radio announcer. Michael Atkinson, the Labor Party Speaker, has said you live near Cape Jaffa in the southeast, and I think your dad is or was the mayor down there. Is that where your home is? Look, my parents' farm is down there and my family's been farming down there for many, many years, so I've had the privilege of having quite flexible work and study arrangements, so I've divided my time between Adelaide and the South East. Well, you know, it goes on and on, Mr Acting Deputy President, but it just follows a continual theme. When you're asked the straight questions, probably best just give a straight answer. And unfortunately, there's been a history of this sort of stuff in this seat. But anyway, I can say this. Our candidate lives, works, brings his family up in the seat. Now, I don't know Miss Nicole Flint. I have no direct knowledge. I've read a couple of her pieces in the media, opinion piece contributor. I wish her well, as we always do at the start of any contest. Both sides, ring the bell and let's get on to it in a real campaign, but not an auspicious start. But why do we really think that there is a contest in Boothby, a seat that the Liberal Party has held for quite a number of years? Well, Mr Acting Deputy President, the reason we think there is a contest in Boothby is because of the appalling damage that's been inflicted on the South Australian economy. With the closure of Holden's, we know from quite well-credentialed studies of the University of Adelaide, closing the motor vehicle industry, the impact on Australia, and in particular the impact on South Australia, April 2014, we know there will be 4,385 jobs lost in Playford. That's the main suburb around Elizabeth. We know there will be 2,772 jobs in the Adelaide City Council area. We know that there will be 2,447 jobs in the Salisbury Council area, another key northern suburbs area. We go on and find out there will be 2,352 jobs lost in the Port Adelaide Enfield Council area. The southern suburbs will be impacted with 2,042 jobs to be lost in the Onkaparinga Council and Marion 1,554. These are the numbers in the seats of Boothby, Kingston and Hindmarsh. Other areas would include Charles Sturt, 1881, West Torrens, 1554, Norwood, Payne and St Peters, 629, T3 Gully, 563. So South Australians and Boothby electors are acutely aware that a couple of issues are impacting very, very severely on South Australia. And the first issue is the imminent demise of manufacturing in making of motor cars in South Australia. Now, it will be widespread across a number of electorates and will impact in Boothby. Now, we also know through some campaigning work that my office has done in having quite a large number of phone calls, distributing quite a large number of DLs, that there is grave concern about the lack of a decision to build submarines in South Australia. We know that despite the promises, and I'm going to put it on the record again, the Coalition committed to building 12 new submarines here in Adelaide. We will get the task done, and it's a really important task, not just for the Navy but for the nation. And we're going to see the project through and put it very close after force protection as our #1 priority if we win the next federal election. People understand and know that promise. We now know, as time's elapsed, that 2 Prime Ministers have been nimble enough to walk away from that promise. 3 Defence Ministers have been agile enough to avoid committing to that promise, and not one of the 12 submarines has yet been committed to. In fact, nearly a year ago, the Minister was on the record of saying, in answer to a question from myself, that he wouldn't trust the Australian Submarine Corps to build a canoe. This issue has resonated not only in Boothby but in the entire state. And we know this, Mr Acting Deputy President, because the activity of the Honourable Christopher Pyne, the activity of Senator Fawcett, the activity of Senator Rushton, the activity of Senator Edwards, the activity of the member for Hindmarsh, Matt Williams, and all of the other members of Parliament in the South Australian contingent agitating very strongly for an improvement in the situation, because they know, as well as I know, you cannot move in South Australia without being asked about these types of issues. We know that the Xenophon team is going to campaign on this issue. They made it very clear, very public, very clear. And also I'd indicate, Mr Acting Deputy President, that our candidate, Mr Mark Ward, is out there campaigning on these issues. And we know that the pre-selected candidate for the Liberal Party, when asked about the GST and what her thoughts on a 15% GST, her answer was, "I'll leave that to the Treasurer, Scott Morrison." Not an auspicious start for a candidate. As I said at the outset, I wish her well in her candidacy and her campaign, but answer the question truthfully, speak from the heart, and she might do a little bit better. Our candidate will do that. Our candidate will articulate his case clearly, consistently and be on the front foot on all occasions. Thank you, Mr.